the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style.
Aloha, Hawaii, and welcome. You're watching Rise Above Hawaii, which is a 30-minute talk story on health. We're very fortunate tonight to talk story with a friend of mine, Chris Ridley, whom I met a long time ago, actually when my own mother was suffering from dementia. And so I wanted to talk tonight about dementia, about Alzheimer's, and about the different classes of dementia, and just what Ireland residents should be aware of and what they can be aware of. And so I just wanted to turn it over to Chris a little bit. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you interested in this field of older adults and dementia and Alzheimer's.
Actually, I'm a social worker. I'm a counselor, a therapist. And what happened to me is my dad got older. Son of a gun, huh? And basically, as he got older, he got a little bit argumentative. Oh. He started getting a little ornery. And I thought, well, maybe that's what happens. You know, you hear that people get old, get ornery and upset. And he got more and more upset. And my sister and brother said, what the heck is this? And they kind of stepped away from him. It was uncomfortable for them. And but I felt, hey, that's your parent. You got to be there for them. Yeah. And so I stepped up to it and talked more and more with him. But he kept getting more argumentative no matter how nice I was. And wow. I took him to the doctor, and the doctor said he was fine. And I thought, this isn't fine. Yeah. But I struggled for a whole nother year with his forgetfulness that I didn't realize that's what was happening. Wow. And I saw something on TV. This was in the 1980s. Wow. And the person on the TV, it was a story, and there was a little snippet showing that the man had dementia, meaning the brain was just shrinking and deteriorating. And I realized, oh my God, that's my dad. And so I ran off to the doctor again. I said, that's what my dad has. He says, oh, I thought you knew that. Oh. So in the 1980s, there wasn't a lot of information out there. And I struggled. There was the 36-hour-day book, which is a caregiver's mecca of all the basic information. But there really wasn't very much out there. And so I struggled and struggled for quite a few years. Was still being a therapist, but also finding myself spending more and more time with my dad, taking care of him. Oh. And eventually, I ended up just learning more and more information about it, and learning how to validate him and try to help his self-esteem and his dignity. And eventually, more information came out also on validation, things like that. And that's how I ended up getting into this field. I didn't go by willingly, by the way. I mean, I eventually got there.
That's amazing. You know, I don't know if our viewers know, but if you don't know, Chris Ridley has helped so many families understand dementia and the aging process. I mean, this is an angel-like person, you know, and I feel so blessed to even be in your presence and to have you talk to our viewers today. Thank you so much. Chris came into our lives when my mother was experiencing dementia. And she has actually what's called Pick's disease, which is a form of Alzheimer's. So there's Alzheimer's.
It's a form of dementia.
Oh, okay.
Dementia is just a generic term that means the brain is deteriorating.
Okay.
There are over 100 diseases that attack the brain. We don't have a cure for any of them. So we have no way of fixing them. We have no way of slowing up the progression or anything. Yeah. So Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, but Pick's disease, Lewy bodies, Creutzfeldt, goes on and on and on. Long
What's
list.
the common denominator in all of these different diseases?
Most people gradually lose their short-term memory.
Okay.
It means that they start having trouble learning new things. So what happens is sometimes they learn something new, and sometimes they can't learn something new. Sometimes the brain is connected, sometimes it's not connected. So you show them a new phone, a cell phone, or a remote, or a microwave or something. You teach them how to do it. And sometimes they'll learn, sometimes they'll forget. And that's like the beginning of dementia. Now, don't get panicked out there. Everybody goes, oh my God, I can't remember how to program my DVD player. And don't get panicked about that. The fact is you know how to eventually go to the manual and figure it out step by step. But someone with dementia, no matter how many times they read the manual, they're not going to be able to do the step-by-step. So that's what happens for them. Yeah.
You know what was real profound when I first met you and you shared with us just the disease in itself. You said something that I didn't forget. You said, you know, with dementia, it's not a matter of if, but when. Yeah. Just, you know, the fact that we're living longer.
Yes.
Is it safe to say that I mean, if we live to 100, we will experience some form of dementia?
Very few people escape it.
Okay.
Very few people. Our bodies will deteriorate. It's not just the brain, but the rest of the body also deteriorates. And you know what that means. We have to be exercising regularly. We have to be eating healthy, thinking good thoughts, be socially active. You know all the things that we're supposed to be doing. Those things do help postpone the aging process. So yes, think about what you're eating, making sure you're working out, exercising, but it's also positive thoughts. It's very, very important. Having a spiritual life, having social life, all these different things are very important factors.
Yeah. It always amazes me when I look at my own uncles, and my mom got it when she was, we saw signs. Like I think depression was kind of her first initial symptom. Are the symptoms different initially? Like how do you get a sense that the brain's shrinking? What's the early signs?
Honestly, a person whose brain is shrinking, they do sense that they're starting to get forgetful, and they'll start using their own techniques to try to remember things. And they're usually pretty good at hiding that stuff initially, so they think they're not showing it to anybody, and usually they're not. They're able to hide it for years. It takes about 20 some odd years for the brain to die. The first 5 or 6 years you might be aware that it's having trouble, but you're able to hide it. Eventually you think you're hiding it, but you're not.
Oh, so you have strategies.
And part of all of what happens there, though, is depression. Women especially will get depressed. They're suffering from losing their independence, and so they're going to get really sad. Men, sometimes you guys get mad sometimes. Yeah. That's just part of your depression.
Oh, and so we manifest it differently.
Yeah.
But same issue underlining.
Yeah. So my dad really was a brilliant engineer. And so as he was losing his brain, he initially got quite angry. He was an ornery bugger at times. Yeah. And we didn't understand what was happening. But eventually we got the hang of it and realized, okay, that's what's going on. Now let's accommodate for it. Yeah. So when they are losing a sense of control, you give them a sense of control, and hopefully they won't be as angry or as depressed.
Yeah. You mentioned this idea about you didn't want to accept it. I think we felt the same way too. Is there a sense of denial a little bit when when a loved one experiences dementia? Like, she's just...
Yeah.
Because how long does that last? It lasted us for a couple of years, I think.
Alzheimer's Association used to have a movie called He's Doing This to Spite Me. And it was such a good title because it showed several little snippets of different case scenarios where the family member really felt, no, he's doing this on purpose. Yeah. And I try to help people understand, no, they don't really do that on purpose. Yeah. They don't go that far. But the fact is, denial is the first thing, and it's because you love the person. You can't imagine it happening.
Yeah.
So.
And you know, and I don't know if this is the process too. And this is good that you're here. Actually, a free session, I guess. But we also experienced fear. Like we all got scared. You know, my sister and I was like, hey, you know, your neck. Is that a common?
Oh God, yeah.
Because it's genetic, some of it.
Well,
how does that work?
We all have an increased likelihood whenever we have someone in our family that has any kind of dementia. So we automatically have a 10% increased likelihood out of the general population. If you have 2 parents with any form of dementia, you're now up to 50% increased likelihood of getting it. That's pretty scary stuff. Yeah. And none of us want to think about losing our brain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I talk to older adults. I was fortunate to have Andy Buckley here, who's a family friend, and I think he's in his maybe 60s, 70s, and he did mention off screen that, you know, the one thing that he fears the most is losing his brain. It's funny how we can, you know, lose a leg, our knees not work, arthritis, but the brain, boy, you know, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It is hard.
And even in another show that has been aired. Was on suicide prevention, and we were talking about older adults and how interestingly, the suicides peak up
Sure.
with 60s and 70s. And so
Sure.
I asked, why our guest? I asked our guest, well, why is that? He said, because people feel like they sense the loss of control, and so we had the whole conversation about, well, yeah, if you lose your mind and you become a burden, nobody would want that. So how do you negotiate that? I mean, could you like for me, if I'm thinking, man, I don't want, could I write something up that say, if I start to lose my faculties, you can take me out, or how does that work?
Can't quite do that,
Okay.
but you know what living wills are.
Okay.
And I have, actually I had breast cancer and I was told that I was dying.
Wow.
And basically I did a medical power of attorney and a living will. So the medical power of attorney allowed me to name who I wanted to speak for me if I could not make decisions. And then the living will said how aggressive I wanted treatment. Because some people really do want everything modern medicine can provide all the way to the end.
Wow.
But there's many of us who don't want that. We don't want aggressive stuff. We don't want to have all the tubes and machines.
I see.
So it's kind of important that we should all be looking at that. And I will tell you, you can come over to Life Care Center Hilo and we will help you get your medical power of attorney and living will done for free.
Wow.
Any social worker there, you just come to social services. We'll type it right up. We'll help you get witnesses. We'll help you understand what each question means. We do that all the time for people in the
Wow.
community. So
That's a great service. That's great.
it's an important service. Please get it done.
Yeah.
Please.
What's
It's for free.
What's the consequences if you don't? I mean, is there like siblings argue or?
Yes, yes. And as you said, people go in denial, people get mad, he's doing it despite me. I mean, you have all these different things going on, and the doctor gets stuck in the middle, and that's no fun for the doctor.
Yeah.
So kind of important to put your wishes down on paper.
Yeah.
I work at Life Care also, and we end up having to do this kind of documentation. And when people have their brains about them, I'll even ask them questions like, what kind of funeral do you want? What songs do you want sung? What dress do you want to wear? What picture you want them to use? And I'll start talking to them about that, and the family will go, oh, don't ask that. But they want to have some sense of control in these things.
Yeah,
and so this helps them.
Yeah, it's almost like a cultural, maybe it's a cultural taboo. I remember some uncles saying, hey, if you talk about it, you're going to get it, or, don't talk about death, it might happen. Is that culture, or where did that come from?
I don't know. That bocce stuff is very strong, though. It's very, very strong. So sometimes you have a real hard time addressing issues like that. So you have to talk around things, if anything. But it's still important to come up with it.
Tell us about the stages. Is there stages of, like I always kind of wonder where, when does hospice come in, or if that is even an option, or tell us about the stages.
Before I say stages, I want you to know there is something called reversible dementia.
Oh, really?
And what that means is you may be showing symptoms. For example, let's pretend you're getting a little stressed at work these days. Let's say that your boss is saying you got to do more with less. We've all heard that.
Right.
Let's say that there's some stress at home. Your roof is leaking.
Okay.
Let's say that some family members distant to you are having some trouble and you're starting to worry about them. Let's say that you haven't been focused on your diet very well and you're not drinking enough, you're not eating well enough, and that kind of stuff. Well, when stuff like that occurs, you're now not getting enough nutrients in you, you're not getting enough fluid in you, and you're utilizing all these things for stress. So you're using all your important vitamins for that. When you're doing that, you have to be very, very careful because you can deplete yourself. And now you're going to be forgetful and confused. You're not going to remember that you're supposed to come see me today. Now people are going to start saying, oh, chemo's forgetful. Something's going on there. And that actually could be a reversible dementia, where now we get you to the doctor. And notice your friends are going to take you to the doctor and they're going to say, hey, something's wrong with chemo. And we're going to say, he forgot this appointment, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, he lost a few pounds. Now the doctor's going to check you out, and he's going to make sure, is there something missing? Is there something not right? And a lot of times it's just low B12, or your thyroid's not acting right, or a low iron, or you're dehydrated. Any of these kinds of things can actually then be reversed.
Wow. So it's so important to remain healthy, to continue
Remain
drinking
healthy.
water, get good sleep, just the basics.
Good sleep can also interrupt. You're right. If you don't have a good night's sleep, You're not going to remember what you did yesterday very well.
That's right.
You're not going to remember what you learned yesterday. So basically, there is reversible dementia. If you know someone is forgetful, please help them to the doctor. Let the doctor know the symptoms. Sometimes it is reversible. If, in fact, the doctor does all those tests and they, in fact, say it's not reversible, this is irreversible dementia, now, yes, there's stages.
Wow.
Usually it's mild, moderate, severe. Usually the person is gradually losing abilities, gradually losing their short-term memory, losing decision-making. It very gradually affects them in so many areas. For example, driving, because your eyes don't see, your brain does. And if your brain is shrinking, you're losing depth perception.
I see.
And actually, your eyes see upside down. The front of your eye sees everything upside down, and that's what's inside your brain.
Oh.
You've heard of dyslexia?
Yes.
Okay. So we were all dyslexic. And then we learn, these are our hands, and we learn left is right, right is left.
Oh.
We have to learn all those
Our brain
things.
makes it right side up?
Yes.
And if our brain is shrinking...
And when did you learn
that's good.
Right is right and left is left?
Right.
Took you a while.
Yeah.
Sorry, none of us were
That's
brilliant
right.
about that.
That's
and
right.
so when your brain is deteriorating, you start losing that very gradually.
Wow, that is a junk feeling to
You
have.
lose control.
Yeah.
You lose control. And so you get younger and younger and younger. And the important thing in our world is that we accommodate for their losses. Keep them out of harm's way.
Yeah.
But as they get younger and younger, they can go all the way to a baby stage.
Wow. You mentioned tests. What's the number one test? Is there like an x-ray you can take, or are there like cognitive tests?
In terms of, you're very, very lucky, because in Hilo, only place in the state, Life Care Center Hilo does free memory checks.
Wow.
4 times a year. The next one is September 10th at our health fair. But we also do it in November and in March and in May. So read that Hawaii Tribune Herald Saturday newspaper, the calendar. That's where you'll see all the events that we have. And come and get your memory checked. And it's good to get it checked annually. So you should come whichever way you want. A lot of people just always come in March for Social Work Month. Other people always come in May for Nursing Home Week or whatever. Bottom line is come once a year and get your memory checked. And it's a very simple test. It actually checks every part of your brain.
Wow. Is it a written test?
No, we interview you.
Oh,
we
okay.
ask you questions, make you write a few things. Your results get sent to your physician.
Wow.
If you did well, your physician won't even say anything to you. But if you had trouble with any of the parts, your physician will now go in, when you come in, the physician's now going to start talking story with you. And so whatever parts you missed, the physician knows what part of the brain that was.
Oh.
So he's going to check to see, are you having trouble still in that area? And if you are, that's the initial symptom that we would catch if something's going on with your brain.
That's incredible. Did you know that, viewers? For those viewers that just tuned in, talking to Chris Ridley, we're talking about dementia and Alzheimer's and basically the aging process. And Chris just mentioned about a free memory check 4 times a year.
Yeah, the next one is our health fair, September 10th. Anybody can come in and have it done. It's free.
And that's amazing. And the results get to our physician somehow, so they are made aware.
It's very important because we may find, oops, there's something wrong here. And now your physician sees that, and it may turn out that you're just low in your B12 or something.
Yeah.
And if that's all it is, we can fix that. And now you're back to your 100% normal.
Is there a place for the West Side to get these memory checks?
No, it takes, my social service staff are volunteering their time.
Okay, so if you're in West Hawaii, if you're in Hilo.
Oh, come on over to Hilo.
Yes, please come. You might have a lot of business.
I would hope so.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. I wanted to talk about another aspect, and that's the caregivers. You know, my dad is, love him to death. He's another angel in my life. And, you know, he just wants to take care of Mom. Yeah. And he wants to do it in his way. And we help out, you know, my sisters in particular. But for the caregivers out there, what is some advice you could give to them?
Well, I remind people, you know when you go on the airplane and they say if there's a drop in cabin pressure,
Yeah.
here comes that oxygen, who are you supposed to put it on first?
Yourself.
You passed,
I passed?
Timo.
Okay.
You passed. You got to put it on yourself first. And when you're a caregiver, one of the mistakes I made was I did not take care of myself first. And I ended up getting very, very sick, taking care of my dad. It took me 6 years, but I got very sick then. Basically, what happens is you don't realize how much you're caregiving, and you don't realize that you're neglecting yourself. And when you do that, usually the caregiver dies first.
Really?
So we don't want caregivers to die first. We want caregivers to come to support groups. We have plenty. We have 3 on this side of the island. We want you to take care of yourself. There's Hawaii Island Adult Daycare has wonderful respite programs for caregivers. And there's actually respite funds. There's all kinds of things for caregivers. You just got to let us know you're out there, and we'll help you get the services that you need. You got to take care of yourself first. When you're taking care of someone with dementia, they're looking to you, and they're looking to see, are you okay? And even though they're confused, they're looking to see, how are you? And if you're okay, they're all right.
Really? That's good to know.
If you went in by your mom and you're all upset about the roof leaking or whatever, no, there's no roof leaking here, but I keep making that as an excuse. But if you were upset and you ended up going near your mom, you're actually going to upset her even more.
I see.
But if you come in at peace, you've been eating healthy, drinking plenty, exercising regularly, taking good care of yourself, you'll have an aura about you, and your mom will feel so much at peace just by you walking in. Of course, it helps that you're her son, but
yeah, that's true.
The fact is you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I like that. If you have nothing in your cup, you have nothing to give, kind of. So you got to fill your cup.
Definitely.
I know. And is it a local thing where people don't want to use places like Life Care Center, or is that a hard thing for families to send their parents there, or how does that?
Actually, just so you know, only 10% of population needs a nursing facility.
Oh, only 10%.
Only 10%. A nursing facility is for the frail elderly that have very complex medical conditions. And if they have dementia, it's the kind of person who's up all night, in other words, not sleeping at night or wandering. There's certain things that would contribute to wanting to be at a nursing facility where family members really can't do that. But most people, in Alzheimer's Association, we're here to help you keep the person in the home. We want the person to die in their home if at all possible. And most of the agencies out there, we're all in the same boat. We want the same thing. So we have grant money, we have different services that we provide, all to help you keep the person in the home.
Oh, that's good to know. Tell us about what is respite? What is that?
Well, respite can mean many things, but for example, if I'm taking care of my dad and I need a few hours to just go get my hair done or to go shopping or whatever, there's actually grant money that can help pay for someone to watch over my dad while I go do whatever I need to do. Now, I was a stubborn caregiver. I had 2 children who played soccer, and I was coaching them and everything, and I kept thinking, I can do all of this, but in fact, really, I needed respite. I wanted to be able to enjoy my kids' soccer without worrying about, is my dad getting into trouble right now? So it's very good to utilize outside services, and there's many services out there.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So, for the viewers, again, if you're tuning in, I'm with Chris Ridley here talking about the aging process, talking about different aspects of dementia, and now we're talking about caregivers and how it affects caregivers as well. And one of the take-home messages for caregivers is you gotta take care of yourself. I like that airplane analogy. And so, if you're not giving yourself oxygen, then you cannot give oxygen. So that's good to know. Tell us about with the Obamacare. Has that changed the healthcare system for older adults, or is it better, worse? What does the future look like for older adults?
We're running into trouble in healthcare.
No matter how you slice it?
No matter how you slice it. Medicare and Medicaid are cutting back their reimbursements. Wow. We are struggling in terms of years ago, if you were taking care of your family member in the home and you needed Medicaid, there was a wonderful program called Nursing Home Without Walls. Yeah. And it would give you 20 hours a week sometimes. It was really a very good program. And sometimes even more than that. I remember this married couple, the man wanted so desperately to take care of his wife, and she was this lovely woman and just going down this gentle path of dementia, and she was so easy to take care of, but he needed time himself also. So we started off with giving him 20 hours, but eventually went up to 40 hours and 60 hours a week so that she could remain in the home, and she died in the home. It was very nice. But sometimes nowadays what's happening is there's no more nursing home without walls. We now have managed care.
Oh.
And what's happening is the hours are getting cut back. So someone in that situation no longer would be able to provide the care. Or there would be situations where the right care isn't being provided. So we are in a bad situation right now. There is grant money, there is Medicaid, there is help available, but it's not as much as we used to have. And there's more and more of us baby boomers getting older and older going to need services. So we're in trouble. The county's in trouble, the state's in trouble, the federal government's in trouble. So we're just going to have to help each other.
Okay. So does that mean we're going to have to rely on natural resources or natural support?
We're a small island. We always help each other.
Yeah.
We
Churches,
help our neighbors, churches, all of that, Project Donna, all the different organizations.
Yeah.
We are going to have to help.
Okay. That's important for us to know, I think. As an island community, I think that's not a hard thing to do as compared to maybe the mainland. Or,
right.
So we might be blessed in that regard.
Definitely. Definitely.
As services shrink, perhaps we need to step up in terms of our community connections. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, what would be some advice to the caregivers besides taking care of themselves? Are there any financial things they should be aware of? Or?
Oh, that's a long conversation. My recommendation is come to support groups, come to presentations. Alzheimer's Association is having several presentations in August 13th, 20, and 27th at the Aging and Disability Resource Center. We're actually doing the 10 warning signs and then the legal aspects. It's a whole 2-hour presentation.
Oh, okay.
And then challenging behaviors. We're also going to be showing 3 movies, different movies that have dementia in it. And we're also going to be doing a new program called Living with Alzheimer's. And it's for anybody who's forgetful. You can come to the program and it helps you prepare just in case you get the diagnosis. And you can bring your family members with. And it's a 3-session program that will help you.
Fantastic. Again, we're so lucky to have Chris here today talking about the aging process. And this idea about dementia, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Okay, and if we live long enough, and there's so many, what do they call them, centenarians?
Yes.
Before you reach 100, that would be a big
Yes.
celebration. You probably get on the news, okay? But there's so many people that are just living longer, interestingly. What is your hope? What is your hope for, you've been in this field for a while as a social worker, but also specializing in older adults. What's your hope for our older population, our kupuna?
I think that we as an island do wonders for our kupuna in that we really do take care of them, we accommodate them, and we do try to treasure them. And I just hope that we always continue to do that.
That's great. That's great. Now, your kids, are they older or how?
Oh, my son's 24 and 30, very independent at this point.
Do you have any aspirations, any dreams? What do you want to be when you grow up, Chris? Or you just do what you do?
I enjoy helping people. Give me a call anytime. You can reach me at LifeCare 959-9151, or you can reach me on my cell after work, 443-7360. I'm here to help. Whatever questions you have, anything about aging, advanced directives, fall prevention, anything at all, just go ahead and call me and I will try to help you get connected with the services that are out there. Thank you.
And thank you.
Chemo.
Thank you so much. Again, Chris is an angel in disguise, you folks. We gotta love her. This is our Mother Teresa. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. And Big Island, Hawaii Island, and the state, if you're watching, we love you guys. Take care of our kupuna. And I always tell the education folks, I know there's no child left behind, but let's also remember, no kupuna left behind.
Yes.
Okay?
On the island, we do it island style. From From the mountain to the ocean, from the windward to the leeward side. On the island, we do it island style.